In math today, we're going to continue building our understanding of fractions. We have learned about partitioning models into unit fractions. And then we started learning about other fractions. When we add unit fractions together, we can have more than one part in our numerator. Today, let's listen and look at our success criteria.
We are learning about fractions. Our target this week is understanding the whole can be partitioned into equal parts. Today, we are going to represent fractions by using number lines. We will use our knowledge of the unit fraction to help us, and we will make sure we partition into equal parts. Sometimes we have a fraction that's greater than one whole. Today, we're going to model fractions greater than 1 using a number line.
Okay, so far, boys and girls, we have only been talking about fractions that are less than one whole. So when we draw a number line, we've been going from 0 to 1 whole. But you guys know that we have numbers that are greater than 1 whole. For example, if there are 2 chocolate chip cookies, and Nick decides he's going to eat 1 whole cookie, and then he's going to cut the second cookie in half, and he's going to eat half of a cookie. We do this all the time. If Nick eats 1 whole cookie plus half of a cookie, that number is greater than 1 whole. We're going to talk about how we can show this type of fraction on a number line today.
Finding mixed numbers on number lines. Before we get to number lines, let's quickly review what mixed numbers are. This is a mixed number. It's called a mixed number because it's a mix of a whole number and a fraction. In this example, how many wholes do we have? 1. How many extra halves do we have? 1. The mixed number is 1.5. Now we know what mixed numbers are, let's get back to number lines. Here we have a number line. Its start point is 0 and its end point is 3. It's important that we remember the space between 0 and 1 on our number line represents 1 whole, just like the space between 1 and 2 represents 1 whole. The same goes for the space between 2 and 3, and so on. Here's our mixed number from before. It shows 1 whole. Let's find 1 whole on our number line. Here it is. But we're not quite finished, because this is a mixed number, and as well as the 1 whole, it has 1/2. We're going to take the next whole, between 1 and 2, and divide it into 2 equal parts. On our number line, we have found 1 and 1/2. 1.5. Let's look at another mixed number, 2 and 2/3, and see if we can find it on the same number line. This mixed number has 2 whole. Here is 2 whole on the number line. Now we need to find 2/3. Because our fraction is in thirds, we will need to divide the next whole into 3 equal parts. Here is 2 whole and 1/3, and here is 2 whole and 2/3. Let's look at another example, 5 3/4.
All right, we're going to stop there, 3rd grade. We know that we can represent a number greater than 1 whole in a model such as a number line. So now we're going to look at an example of how do we show this. we're going to watch this video together, and I want students focusing on how you can draw a number line, how you can use the denominator to tell you how to partition, and how the numerator tells us where to plot the fraction. Let's watch this example together. I need all eyes focusing on the task, thinking about how you can do this today in your work.
Today we are focused on fractions that are more than one whole or greater than 1. This example asks us to place 5/3 on the number line. When dealing with fractions that are greater than 1, the first thing we need to do is identify the whole. I notice my first tick mark is 0, and 1 whole is right here. This space between 0 and 1 is 1 whole. If I continue on the number line, I notice my next tick mark is 2. The space between 1 and 2 is another 1 whole.
So in this example, we notice that our number line doesn't end at 1 whole. In fact, the number line goes all the way to 2 wholes. From 0 to 1 is 1 whole. From 1 to 2 is a second 1 whole. Now we're going to look at how I can place 5/3 on a number line. Notice that the numerator is greater than the denominator. That means our number is greater than 1 whole. Let's look at how we can do this together by focusing our eyes, ears, and brain on the video.
Our job is to place 5/3 on the number line. So I'm going to focus on the fraction I'm given, and I'm going to start with the denominator. My fraction is 5/3. I know the denominator tells me how many equal parts are in the whole. So when I look at my first 1 whole, I can imagine that there are 3 equal parts. If I skip count from 0 and think about my unit fraction, I know that each space will be 1/3. 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 1 whole. 3 1/3 is the same thing as 1 whole. Our task asks us to put 5/3 on the number line. Right now, at the 1 mark, I'm at 3 1/3. Next, I can partition my second whole into 3 equal parts. I'm going to use the line tool to partition. I now have partitioned my whole into 3 equal parts. I know that at the 1 mark, right here, that is 3 1/3. So next, I will continue on and keep counting each 1/3. 1 1/3, 2 1/3, 3 1/3, keep going. 4 1/3, 5 1/3. I can place a point and label 5/3, which is the same thing as 5/1/3. Remember to count the spaces between the tick marks, not the lines that you have partitioned with.
Okay, we have just seen an example of how we can plot a fraction on a number line even when our number is greater than 1 whole. We are going to practice this together today. Please join me on Seesaw. You will click Activities, Assign to Class folder, and we're working in blue math. Our task today is called Lesson 12:5, fractions greater than 1 on a number line. Go ahead and pull that up, please. Slide number 2 says review the example. Here is a good example. A bunny hopped 7/4 the distance of a trail. How can you show this on a number line? 7/4, that tells me the numerator is greater than the denominator. When my numerator is greater than the denominator, that tells me my number is greater than 1 whole. Because 4/4 I know is equal to 1 whole. So if my numerator is 7, I know I'm talking about a number greater than 1. So let's look at this example. Here's the bunny who's going to hop on the trail. Our example says, first, we can partition because of the denominator. The denominator, boys and girls, is 4. So on the number line, we can partition into 4 equal parts. Look at each 1 whole. Right here is 1 whole. I notice that they partitioned it into 4 equal parts. Then they looked at the second 1 whole from 1 to 2. Here again, they partitioned into 4 equal parts. Next, they can count using the unit fraction, and they can label 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, or we know that's equal to 1. Keep going. 5/4, 6/4, 7/4. Wow, they added together 7 1/4. And they plotted it on the number line. We're going to do this together today. Let's go to slide number 3 and practice together. Slide 3 says follow along with your teacher, so here we go. In problems 10 and 11, use the number line below. I see a cute little picture here. Looks kind of like somebody's neighborhood with a number line. We're going to use this number line together. I notice a school, a grocery store, a post office, and a swimming pool. Okay, let's check out problem 10 to see what it says. Starting on problem 10. What fraction tells how far the swimming pool is from the school? Explain how you know. Okay, so let's look at our model. Let's see. It says what fraction tells how far the swimming pool. So here's the pool. How far the pool is from the school. Okay, here's the school. I notice the school is at the 0 tick mark, and I am not sure what the fraction is for the swimming pool. We have to find that. It's missing. Okay, so let's look at our model very closely. Let's look at the model and see what unit fraction they're using. Okay, I notice a jump to 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, and then 1 whole. I notice that we are now at the 1 whole. Let me circle that for you. So we were at 5/6. 1 whole is equal to 6/1/6. I'm going to write that in there. Okay. If I keep counting, if I have 6/1/6 and I add 1 more, 6/1/6 plus 1 more 1/6, I know my denominator will still be 6, but my numerator will increase. My numerator now is 7/1/6. So I can fill it in on the number line, 7/1/6 or 7/6. Awesome job. Go ahead and mark up your number line. Fill in that the swimming pool is at 7/1/6. Now we are on slide number 4. It says follow along with your teacher. I see a number line and I notice that there are some missing fractions on the number line. When there's a missing fraction, our job is to fill in with the correct fraction. We're going to do that together. Okay, the first thing I do when I see a number line is I look for where my 1 whole is. So I'm going to get my green color here. I notice 0 is to the left, as always, and I'm going to look for 1 whole. I'm going to draw a line along the number line to help me identify where 1 whole is. So I'm going to go to the right. They label it 2/3, 3/3. Wait a second, 3/3. 3/3 is the same thing as 1 whole, and I see a 1 right here. Perfect. So 1 whole is right here. And I notice that to the right of 1 whole is a missing fraction. The fraction in this box is going to be greater than 1 number. Remember the example in the video when they showed 1 whole orange plus half of an orange. Or the example I gave, if Nick eats 1 whole cookie and then he eats part of another cookie, those numbers are greater than 1. So let's think about our missing fractions. I see 0, and then I see 1 jump. I still don't know what this number is. I need to look at how many parts are in the whole. So I'm going to count the parts so that helps me understand the denominator. Let's do that together. Let's count and see how many parts there are. Okay, I count 1, 2, 3 equal parts. There are 3 equal parts. I know that's called thirds. So my denominator is 3. Does that match with what they put on the number line? Let's go check. Does that match? Yes, it does. I see that they have a 3 in the denominator. Perfect. So I can use my knowledge of thirds and unit fractions to help me. If I start at 0 and I count one hop or one space, I know that's my unit fraction. This is 1/3. My first space is always my unit fraction. I know that's called 1/3. Go ahead and check that you have 1/3 labeled correctly on your number line. Now that we have labeled 1/3, it makes sense to me that the next jump is called 2/3 or 2/1/3. The next jump is 3/1/3. So if I have 3/1/3 plus one more 1/3, I know that my numerator is going to increase. My denominator is still going to be 3 because we have 3 equal parts in one whole. So if I do one more jump, we will call this one 4/1/3. I know that 4/1/3 is greater than 1 whole because the numerator is greater than the denominator. If there are only 3 equal parts in 1 whole, I have a whole other part. It's sort of like a model like this. If you have 1 whole and it's cut into thirds, and you have eaten all these pieces, you just ate 3/1/3 of the cookie. But then you spy another cookie and you decide, I'm going to eat one more part. I'm going to eat one more part. There's the other third that you ate. When you combine those together, it's equal to more than 1, greater than 1 whole. We call that 4/3 in this example. Check that you have your number line labeled correctly with 4/1/3. For slide 5. Here we go. Follow along with your teacher. Let's move a little bit faster as we draw our own model line, number line as a model. Here we go. Quinn says that 10/8 comes to the right of 9/8 on a number line. Do you agree? Why or why not? All right, I need to sketch this out to see. So I'm going to draw a number line. I'm going to do that again. That was kind of messy. Here's my number line. I have 0, and I'm going to mark 1 whole right here because I'm not sure exactly what I need. So I'm going to make 1 whole and leave some extra room in case I'm going greater than 1 whole. Okay, Quinn says that 10/8 comes to the right of 9/8. All right, I'm going to draw this out. He's talking about 8. The denominator is 8. So he wants me to show 8 equal parts. I need to partition into 8s. Okay. Oh boy. Let's partition into fourths first. I'm going to scoot that over a little bit. I have partitioned my 1 whole into fourths. Now I can take the fourths and cut each fourth in half. Partition in half, partition in half, partition in half, partition in half. Again, boys and girls, I'm going to check that I have 8 equal parts in my whole. I want to make sure I did it correctly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. Perfect. We have 8 equal spaces. Now I can think more about what Quinn is saying. He says that 10/8 comes to the right of 9/8. So I know that this whole part, all of these are 1/8. And when you add them all together, when we get to 1 whole, that's the same thing as 8 1/8. These are equal. 1 whole is equivalent to 8 1/8. All right, my numerator, he's talking about 10/8 and 9/8. So I need to keep going, and I'm going to partition about the same size. Okay, here's 8/8. So I know this one would be 9/8. Add another 8. This would be 10 1/8. Okay, I have 1 whole. If I add 1 more 8, it's 9 1/8. If I add another 1/8, it's 10 1/8 or 10/8. Okay, now that I have a picture, I can really think about what Quinn is saying. Quinn says 10/8 comes to the right of 9/8. So is 10/8 to the right? Let's see, here's 9/8. And I move to the right. I move to the right, and yes, 10/8 is to the right, a la derecha. So is Quinn correct? I think Quinn is correct. So I'm going to say yes. Quinn is correct. How do I know that? Why do I agree with Quinn? Well, I know that each time my numerator is going to go up as I move to the right. My first tick mark is 1/8. Then it becomes 2/8. Then 3/8. I notice that every single time my numerator is getting bigger. Every single time my numerator is increasing. So 10 is greater than 9. Yes, I agree. Because ten is greater than 9. When the numerator increases, it's going to be to the right on the number line. Yes, I agree because 10 is greater than 9. I agree that Quinn is correct because 10 is greater than 9. So 10 1/8 will be to the right, a la derecha, de 9/8. Perfect. Go ahead and check your work and make sure that you have explained that Quinn is correct with his reasoning. Starting on slide number 7, it says to work independently. This is your task for today. Number 8 says write the missing fractions on the number lines. You can look at the fractions that they give you to help you, and you can count how many equal parts are in one whole. Both ideas are strategies to help you. You need to write the missing fractions on 8, 9, 10, and 11. Number 11 is a challenge. It's a tricky one. I want you to show me what you understand about unit fractions and fractions greater than 1 whole. When you are finished with your task today, show me how you're doing with this. I know that fractions can be a little bit tricky sometimes, so be honest. Tell me how you're doing with our targets. When you are finished, you may turn it in with the green check.